Hi everybody, Dan Ullman, Matt Bernier. It's opening day at Santa Anita, and our DRF.com formulator race of the day is the Grade 3 Eddie D Stakes going down the hill at about 6.5 furlongs. Let's take a look at this field. It's a fairly wide open race. Should be a nice race.
In the past, it's been a major prep for the Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint when it's been held at Santa Anita. I don't know how much sort of bearing this race is going to have or what kind of effect it'll have on the turf sprint here in a few weeks, but nonetheless, it is a good full field, good race.
Head on over to the Race of the Day event page on DRF.com. Download your free formulator past performances and handicap along with Matt and I as we take this field in post-position order. The number 1 is Prize Exhibit. She is the lone mare in this field, and she has done well cutting back in distance going down the hill in the past. She hasn't had many opportunities to run down the hill, but she won the Monrovia going second off the layoff and moving from route to sprint, and that's the same pattern Jimmy Cassidy's using here.
Yeah, you know what? She's one that if somebody came to me and said, I like her a lot, I think she's going to be interesting, wouldn't argue with you. She's never been out of the exact of the 2 times down the hill. She's going to be a giant price in here. I just wonder if she's as good as some of the best.
One of the most fascinating horses in this race is the number 2 Tribalist, who is bringing a 4-race win streak into the Eddie D. The problem is those 4 starts have occurred July of 2014, August of 2015, July of 2016, and August of 2017. Basically, this horse averages a once-a-year racing schedule. Is he coming back too quick?
Well, boy, not only is this going to be an interesting spot, if he comes back here, is this too quick? Theoretically, he's coming back 4 weeks later in the Breeders' Cup because really his game is 5/8 of a mile, and I think this is nothing more than a stopgap. And if the horse is good, then you don't, I don't know, do you want to find out or keep training him and hope that everything stays as is? I suppose if you got to run him, you got to run him. He hasn't run poorly at this downhill configuration. He finished second the only time that he did it, but that was in June of 2014. I think he's interesting. I don't think he wants to go this far.
His race in the Green Flash handicap was fairly remarkable. Not only was he coming off of his customary layoff, but this is a horse that likes to be forwardly placed, if not outright on the lead. He did not break well. He was near the back of the pack. He was sort of bottled up down inside, and he just absolutely flew home to win with a more alert break in a race that doesn't feature a blazing pace scenario. He could be in a great spot when the field swings into the stretch.
He could, and here I am saying I don't think he wants the distance. Again, he ran just fine at it, but it was against maidens, against Calbred maidens. Now there's a part of me that wonders, against horses that this is really what their game is, 6.5 down the hill. I don't know that he's quite that good, but I have to be honest with you, he kind of feels like the one where maybe this is the prep for the Breeders' Cup as opposed to the rest of the horses.
Fellow Calbred is the number 3, California Diamond, who's a nice runner. He started 11 times. He's only been out of the exacta once, and that was in his most recent start, the Echo Eddie, where I'm guessing something must have happened to him that day. It was way back in April, and he just didn't fire as the big favorite. He's now returning off of a long layoff, listed as a new gelding, and trying turf for the first time against older horses. It's a lot to ask.
A lot to ask. You don't know if he's going to be able to take to the turf. The other thing that we just need to call a spade a spade, he's just yet to run all that fast. He's going to need to run the best race of his life. He's going to win.
I think it's fair to say that the horse to beat is the number 4, Ohm, who was beaten a dirty nose in the Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint going down the hill last year. And that was really the only time in his career he's had an opportunity to sprint on the turf. He's come back with 3 races since then. They've been the usual Ohm performances. Fast, triple-digit buyer speed figures, right there at the wire, but not winning. And does that lack of a winning profile bother you at a short price?
You know, it always has, but then you go through and you think about it a little bit more and more. He's faced the best of the best as far as the milers are concerned, so, okay, maybe he's not in the top 2 or 3 as far as turf miles in California are concerned. This, I thought, it was the best race of his career. It was the Breeders' Cup last year going down the hill, and I kind of feel like if he runs something at least close to that against a field that's not nearly as talented, keep in mind, he only lost by a nose to Obviously. If Obviously were in this field, he'd be 1 to 100. I think he's really, really talented. I'm not going to be surprised if he wins. You and I, we've never been the biggest fans of Ohm, but this is major class relief, and this is probably what he's wanted to do all along.
You're right, and he's just not finishing up his races at a mile or a mile and a 16th. Last time out, probably a very good example. I think if Gary Stevens had a chance to do that over again, he would have been a little bit more aggressive with Ohm coming out of the gate and used his natural speed, but I think he was afraid that maybe there would have been a big pace up front, and it just didn't materialize. Blackjack Cat was in the spot where a lot of handicappers thought that Ohm would have been in. Blackjack Cat won that race. Ohm was a little bit flat in the lane. Blinkers come on. This horse has raced with blinkers in the past and has won around twice with blinkers. Let's take a look at the Timeform US pace projector, because there's a very fast horse right next door to Ohm, and that's the number 5 Rocket Heat, a gate-to-wire winner in his most recent race, albeit for a $40,000 tag. But he's fast, and he's got some back class. He's a graded stakes winner. Do you think 5 furlongs is more his game?
Yeah, even when he was at his best, we talked about him because we saw him a lot in these downhill races. 6.5, I think, is pushing it. I think he's best at 5.5 or even 5 furlongs, preferably. He's got big early speed. If that's how this thing plays out, obviously you've got to respect his chances. But boy, that 6.5 furlongs, I don't think it works.
For all the pace projectors in North American racing, as well as Timeform US speed figures, it's a fun and new way and different way to look at past performances. Head on over to timeformus.com. I think Forever Juanito is a long shot with a chance in here. This horse was only beaten a length last time out by Calculator. All in all, a pretty decent trip where he sat second, turned into the stretch with the lead, and was run down. That's kind of been the story of his career. He hasn't won since 2015, but he's been in against some good horses. Stormy Liberal, 2 and 3 back, was kind of the boss of the downhill turf horses over the winter and into the spring at Santa Anita. Forever Juanito, I think, is a solid horse at a big price, but he's missed a month. He was entered in that Harry Brubaker at Del Mar, and he was a vet scratch.
And I suppose, you know what, the vet scratch thing, yeah, obviously does bother me a little bit, but at the same time, realistically, that wouldn't have been his game either. It kind of felt like that would have been a prep to get to this spot because we know this is what he likes to do. The biggest thing is he's the kind of horse, I don't know that you use him on top. I think you key him in everything underneath, though, because 9 times from 24 lifetime starts, he's run second or third, and you look at his 11 trips down the hill, 5 times runner-up.
I agree with you. I think this is a horse that you might want to seriously consider in the second and third slots in your exacta and trifecta. Guns Loaded is the number 7, and you know I'm a huge fan of Guns Loaded, especially going down the hill at 6.5. We talked about how this race could be used as a prep for a horse like Tribulus, maybe more of a 5 furlong horse than a true down the hill 6.5. Guns Loaded is a true 6.5. He ran in the Green Flash last time out, and I think Doug O'Neill was using that race as an ultimate prep for the Eddie D and getting back to the downhill turf course. The Green Flash was too short for him, 5 furlongs. He had a really lousy outside post position off of a long layoff, and he was trying hard in the stretch. If the real Guns Loaded shows up, he's a major player.
Yeah, I was torn between him and the horse that I ultimately landed on, but I think he has a giant chance in here. You brought up that 5/8 race in the Green Flash. He was hung wide throughout, and he tried. He just, distance wasn't there, and that was his first start in, 8 months, 9 months, or 10 months? So I think this is a situation where this is what he's wanted to do. He also has that little bit of tactical speed that can go a long way in a race like this, especially if we think Rocket Heat goes out there. There's no reason to think Guns Loaded isn't a length or 2 off of him. If Rocket Heat starts feeling the distance, this horse inherits things. We know at his best he can win this race.
Coastline's got a lot of back class, and he has certainly proved capable over the downhill turf course. He actually went dirt to turf back in 2015 and finished second in the Daytona, a graded stakes race at 52-1. I think it's a good sign that John Sadler showed a lot of confidence and took this horse for 62.5 2 starts back. He ran into subsequent graded stakes place American Pastime in his first start for the Sadler barn. I know you think he's more comfortable in the turf.
Yeah, for me, I guess this is one where you need to be a little bit sort of creative trying to make a case for him, because I kind of feel like they claimed this horse with this race as the intended goal, and that most recent dirt start, I'm just saying it was a means to an end, a stopgap. If you go through, and again in Formula, you can gray certain things out that you don't want to see. I mean, you go through and look at his 3 most recent 6.5 races down the hill, the only 3 he's run. I'm not going to hold the Siren Lure against him. Stormy Liberal was rock solid at that point. Ambitious Brew ran really well. But then you have the Daytona where he lost by a neck, and then he came back in the Clocker's corner and won. So you know that he can go down the hill. The question becomes price, and you brought something up earlier. What kind of form is he in?
Cristo Sky, the number 9, was claimed for $8,000 by a high-percentage barn based in Northern California, and 2 starts after that claim rewarded the connections with a 62-1 win in the Albany, going 5 furlongs at Golden Gate. The horse was not embarrassed in the Green Flash last time out. We're getting still some class concerns, and the 6.5's a question going down the hill.
Water's getting much deeper, and until you see the horses go down the hill, there's no guarantee they're going to be able to take to it.
Azarka Star was claimed 2 starts back, beaten first time out for these new connections. Seems like more of a dirt horse.
More of a dirt horse the 2 times they've gone down the hill, neither one very good.
Azarka Star's uncoupled stablemate is the number 11, Mr. Rory, who completes this lineup. And again, we are pre-scratches and changes. Mr. Rory cutting back in distance. We often like horses cutting back, going down the hill at 6.5 furlongs, but this is a gigantic cut back in distance.
Particularly, though, horses that show speed going longer, because you figure they're not going to make the front in a race like this, but hopefully they're not coming from 100 out of it. if I needed an absolute bomb, I think he would be one.
Let's take a look at our top selections for Friday's DRF.com formulator race of the day. You're going with Coastline. He should be a nice price. Again, he has that back class, and he has done well going dirt to down the hill turf in the past.
You got to get a little bit creative again. You got to go out on a limb there. I love that Pratt takes them out here, and I just have a feeling that Costas Ronis and company and John Sadler, they claimed him with this race in mind. Yes.
You're going to go 8, 4, 7, and 6. Ohm just seems the logical horse, simply from a class standpoint, simply from a fig standpoint. He ran so well in the Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint in the past. The price is the most unappetizing aspect of Ohm. He figures to be short, however. I'm going to go 4, 6, 2, and 7 in Friday's Grade 3 Eddie D Stakes. And if you are betting the Santa Anita opening day card from home, sign up to DRF Bets, and immediately you'll be rewarded with a $300 bonus. Head on over to drf.com/fall. Use the promo code FALL300. Approximate post time for the Grade 3 Eddie D, 5:01 Pacific on Friday. Good luck.